Chapter 42. Kitty gathered herself at last. The last ructions of despair subsided. She sighed heavily. The ruined building was dark, save for the small area near the roof where the magical light glowed faintly. Its radiance had dimmed. The demon sat close by, still wearing the form of a dark-skinned youth clad in a wrapped skirt. Its face was turned aside, the light casting angular shadows on its thin neck and hunched bare shoulders. It looked oddly frail.
"If it's any consolation,"
the demon said,
"I destroyed that Afreet from the crypt."
It did not turn round. Kitty coughed and straightened her back, smoothing her hair out of her eyes. She did not reply at once. The despairing hopelessness that had overcome her when the demon plucked her into the sky had subsided now, washed away by the sudden outwelling of grief for her lost friends. She was left feeling hollow and lightheaded. Even so, she tried to gather her thoughts. Escape. She could try to escape. No, there was Jacob to consider. She should wait for him. If he was actually coming. She scowled. She only had the demon's word for that. Perhaps it was better to flee. She craned her head from side to side, seeking inspiration.
"You killed it?"
she said absently.
"How?"
There was a stairwell close by. They were on the first floor, then. Most of the windows were boarded up.
"Dropped him in the Thames. He was quite mad, you know, after so long. He'd bound his essence into Gladstone's bones. Wouldn't, or couldn't, get himself free. A sad business, but there you go. He was a menace to everything, Ginny or human, and is best trapped under hundreds of meters of water." "Yes, quite."
There looked to be a broken window not far off. Perhaps she could leap from it. The demon might attack with some magic as she ran, but her resilience would see her through. Then she could drop to the street, seek cover.
"I hope you're not thinking of doing anything rash,"
the boy said suddenly. She started guiltily.
"No." "You're thinking of doing something. I can hear it in your voice. Well, don't. I won't bother using a magical attack. I've been around, you know. I'm well aware of your defenses. I've seen it all before. I'll just lob a brick at you."
Kitty chewed her lip. Reluctantly, and only for the moment, she dismissed escape from her mind.
"What do you mean, seen it before?"
she said.
"You're talking about the alley?"
The boy flashed a look at her over his shoulder.
"Well, there was that, of course. Your chums withstood a fairly high-intensity inferno from me head-on. But I mean further back, long before London's precious little magicians started getting above themselves. Time and again, I've seen it. It always happens sooner or later. You know, considering what's at stake, you think that wretched Mandrake would make a bit of an effort to get here, wouldn't you? We've been here an hour already."
Kitty's brow furrowed.
"You mean you've seen people like me before?" "Of course! 12 times over!" "I suppose the magicians don't let you read the history books. It's no wonder you're so powerful ignorant."
The demon shuffled round on his bottom to face her.
"How do you think Carthage fell? Or Persia? Or Rome? Sure, there were enemy states ready to take advantage of the empire's weaknesses, but it was the divisions within that really did it for them. Romulus Augustulus, for instance, spent half his reign trying to control his own people, and all the while, Ostrogoths with big mustaches were tramping down through Italy. His djinn couldn't control the plebs any longer, you see. Why? Because so many of them had become like you, resilient to our magic. Detonations, fluxes, infernos, scarcely singed their beards. And of course, The people knew that, so they wanted their rights. They wanted the magicians overthrown at last. There was so much confusion that hardly anyone noticed the barbarian horde before it ransacked Rome.
The boy scratched its nose.
In a way, I think it came as a relief. Fresh start and all that. No more magicians in the Eternal City for a long, long time.
Kitty blinked. Her knowledge of history was scanty, and the strange names and places meant little to her. But the implications were startlingly clear.
Are you saying that most of the Romans were resilient to magic? Oh, no. About 30% maybe. In varying degrees, of course. You don't need more than that for a good uprising. But we never managed more than 11, and London's huge. 11%? That's not too bad. No, 11. That was it.
The boy raised his eyebrows.
Blimey, your recruitment policy can't have been too snappy. But then again, it's early days. How long is it since Gladstone set up shop? 150 years or so? Well, that's your answer. Resilience to magic takes a long time to build up in the general population. Magicians had ruled in Rome for 500 years before the revolutions came. That's an awful lot of magic seeping through the city. Gradually, more and more children are born with talents of one sort or another. What else can you do, for instance? See us? No.
Kitty made a face.
Anne and Fred could do that. I'm just good at surviving.
The boy grinned.
That's no mean talent. Don't knock it. Stanley could see magic in stuff as well. That's how we knew you had that necklace. What? Oh, the amulet. Yep. That kind of sight's another one. Well, there are probably all sorts of abilities bubbling up in London's population right now. Must be hundreds of people with the power. But you've got to remember, most people won't be aware they've got an ability at all. It takes time for the knowledge to spread. How did you find out?
It was all Kitty could do to remember that this slight, polite, and very informative boy was actually a demon, something to be loathed and shunned. She opened her mouth to speak and hesitated. The boy rolled its eyes in annoyance and raised its hands.
Look, don't think I'm going to tell anyone this, least of all my master. I don't owe him anything. Still, far be it for me to force it out of you. I'm not a magician.
It sounded rather huffy.
A demon hit me with a black tumbler.
Her small confidence took Kitty rather by surprise. She found herself saying it without thinking.
Oh, yes. Talos' monkey. I forgot.
The boy stretched lazily.
Well, you'll be pleased to know Talos' dead now. An Afreet got him. Quite stylishly, too. No, I won't give you the details. Not unless you tell me more about you. What happened after the tumbler?
And Kitty, despite herself, was soon recounting her story. At the finish, the demon shrugged ruefully.
You see, the problem with this penny feather was that he was too much like the magicians, wasn't he? Greedy, close and clasping, wanted to keep everything nice and secret, all for himself. Small wonder you only had 11 members. If you want to get a revolution going, my tip is to get the people on your side. All those explosions and thefts were never going to get you anywhere.
Kitty scowled. The demon's blithe assurance on the matter rankled.
I suppose not. Course they weren't. Education's the thing. Knowledge of the past. That's why the magicians give you such ropey schooling. I bet you had endless triumphal stuff about why Britain's so great.
He chuckled.
The funny thing is, the people's growing resilience always comes as a surprise to the magicians, too. Each empire thinks it's different, thinks it won't happen to them. They forget the lessons of the past, even recent lessons. Gladstone only got to Prague so fast because half the Czech army was on strike at the time. It seriously weakened the empire. But my master and his friends have already forgotten this fact. He hadn't a clue why you escaped his molar the other day. Incidentally, he really is taking ages to bring Hirnik across. I'm beginning to think something might have happened to him. Nothing fatal, unfortunately, or I wouldn't still be here.
Jacob. Kitty had been so caught up in the demon's words that the thought of a friend had half escaped her mind. She flushed. This was the enemy she was talking with. A killer, an abductor, an inhuman fiend. How could she have forgotten?
You know,
The demon said in a companionable sort of way.
I was wondering about something. Why did you come looking for this Hirnik? You must have known it was a trap. He said you hadn't seen him for years. I hadn't. But it's my fault he's in this mess, isn't it?
Kitty gritted the words out.
Yes.
The demon made a face.
I just think it's odd. That's all. What can you know about it, demon?
Kitty was white with rage.
You're a monster! How dare you even imagine what I'm feeling?
She was so furious, she almost lashed out. The boy tutted.
Let me give you a friendly tip,
He said.
Now, you wouldn't want to be called female mudspawn, would you? Well, in a similar way, when addressing a spirit such as me, the word demon is, in all honesty, a little demeaning to us both. The correct term is Jenny, though you may add adjectives such as noble or resplendent if you choose. Just a question of manners. It keeps things friendly between us.
Kitty laughed harshly.
No one's friendly with a demon. Not normally, no. The cognitive differentials are just too great. But it has happened.
It broke off thoughtfully.
Yeah? Take it from me. Such as when? Oh, long ago. It doesn't matter.
The Egyptian boy shrugged.
You're making it up.
Kitty waited, but the boy was studying its fingernails intently. It did not continue. After a long pause, she broke the silence.
So why did Mandrake save me from the wolves? It doesn't make sense.
The boy grunted.
He wants the staff, obviously. The staff? Why? What do you think? Power. He's trying to get it before the others.
The boy's voice was terse. It appeared to be in a bad mood. A dawning realization stole over Kitty.
You mean that staff's important? Of course, it's Gladstone's. You knew that. Otherwise, why break into his tomb?
In her mind's eye, Kitty saw the theater box again, and the gold key being tossed into view. She heard the voice of their benefactor, mentioning the staff as if in an afterthought. She saw Hopkins' pale gray eyes gazing at hers, heard his voice, low amid the bustle of the coffee house, inquiring after the staff. She felt the sickness of betrayal.
Oh, you didn't know.
The bright eyes of the Jinny were watching her.
You were set up. Who by? That Hopkins?
Kitty's voice was faint.
Yes. And someone else. I never saw his face. Pity. It was almost certainly one of the leading magicians. As to which, you can take your pick. They're all as bad as each other, and they'll always have someone else do their dirty work for them, Jinny or human.
It blinked, as if a thought had struck it.
You don't know anything about the golem, I suppose.
This word meant nothing to Kitty. She shook her head.
Didn't think so. It's a big, nasty, magical creature. Been causing chaos around London recently. Someone's controlling it, and I'd dearly like to know who. Nearly killed me, for starters.
The boy looked so put out as it said this that Kitty almost smirked.
I thought you were a noble Jenny of awesome power,
she said.
How come this golem beat you? It's resistant to magic, that's why. Saps my energy if I get close. You'd have a better chance of stopping it than me.
It made it sound as if this was the most ridiculous thing in the world. Kitty bridled.
Thanks a lot. I'm serious. A golem's controlled by a manuscript hidden in its mouth. If you get close and whip the paper out, the golem would return to its master and disintegrate back into clay. I saw it happen once, in Prague.
Kitty nodded absently.
That doesn't sound too difficult. Obviously, you'd have to penetrate the choking black mist that hangs about it. Oh, right. And avoid its swinging fists that can hammer through concrete? Ah. Other than that, you'd be laughing. Well, if it's so easy,
Kitty demanded hotly,
how come the magicians haven't stopped it?
The Jenny gave a cold smile.
Because it would require personal bravery. They never do anything themselves. They rely on us the whole time. Mandrake gives me an order, I obey. He sits at home, I go out and suffer. That's the way it works.
The boy's voice had grown old and tired. Kitty nodded.
Sounds tough.
A shrug.
That's the way it works. No choice. That's why I'm interested in you coming out to rescue Hirnik. Let's face it. It was a stupid decision, and you didn't have to make it. No one's forcing you to do anything. You got it wrong, but for admirable reasons. Believe me, it makes a change to see that after hanging around with magicians for so long. I didn't get it wrong,
Kitty said.
How long has it been? 5,000 years or more, off and on. You get the odd break down the centuries, but just as one empire falls, there's always another rising up. Britain's only the latest.
Kitty looked out into the shadows.
And Britain will fall too, in time. Oh, yes. The cracks are already showing. You should read more. You'll see the patterns. Aha! Someone's below. At last.
The boy stood up. Kitty did likewise. To her ears now came scuffling sounds, a couple of whispered curses drifting up the staircase. Her heart began to beat fast. Once more, she wondered if she should run. Once more, she quelled the instinct down. The Jenny looked across at her, grinned. Its teeth flashed very white.
You know, I've quite enjoyed our conversation,
it said.
I hope they don't order me to kill you.
Girl and demon stood together, waiting in the darkness. Steps ascended the stairs.